So these are the some of the objectives where the forestry has the different motives and different mandates for this. Now, forestry has been classified into major 5 parts, 5 branches. Silviculture is one of them, that it refers to the certain aspects of theory and practices of raising forest crops, methods of raising tree crops, their growth and aftercare to the time of final harvesting, right from the sowing to the harvesting, all the operations which are included in this part, that is called as the silviculture. Mensuration, it deals with the measurement of forest produce, example dimension from the volume, age, height, increment, girth. So of individual trees, that is we call as all the measurements, they are called as a mensuration. Then silviculture systems, that is process by which the crops constituting the forest are tended and removed and replaced by new crops. That is how the forests are maintained, conserved. That comes under the different systems are there. I will not be going into detail. So just to have overall view of the forest, then forest management, that is practical application of sequence technique and economics to the forest estate for the production of certain desired results, either in the form of timber or non-wood forest products. And then of course utilization, that is branch of forestry which deals with the harvesting, marketing, conservation and applying the forest produce to a variety of uses, either in the form of timber, fuel, charcoal, pulpwood, plywood, fiber boards. So all these things where the utilization of the forest produce is done, it's called as a forest utilization. So this is in a nutshell about the branches of the forestry. Now, why the forests are important, that need not to be elaborated. Just I will have a quick view of this. It's an important economic part. Various industrial countries are there. It repairs the forest, that is called as reforestation. New forest, that is afforestation, and prevent from deforestation. So though these 3 terms are similar, reforestation, afforestation, and deforestation, it has some difference. That is, wherever the previously the area was not planted, so where we go for the plantation, that area is called as afforestation. Then wherever the after 2, 3 years, 4 years, where there is mortality is found, to have that gap filling and to maintain that equal number of trees, we again go for the plantation of that is called as a reforestation. And deforestation is a felling of trees without intention of again planting on the same place. So that is called as the deforestation. It's a basic difference between all the 3 terms. Hope you might have understood it. Then it provides timber, that is for the different the furniture uses there. Then your construction building, doors, window frames. So wherever the timber is used, it provides timbers. Then it provides fuel wood. That is how the fuel wood is the need, domestic need from the rural background. Rural people is mitigated with the help of the forest. Then of course environment cleaner, that is how its role as the forest has the role. It improves the water quality. That is how in the dams and all, you see that wherever the forest area is there, normally the map of the dams, it coincides with the forest area itself. It acts as a sink for atmospheric carbon dioxide. Then it creates a source of enjoyment by preserving the forest. It helps in the landscaping. It provides a shelter house for endangered species. So it's one of the very important aspect now, the biodiversity. A lot of species are under the threats. So some of them are going to extinct. So it provides the shelter house for such species which are either in the form of flora or it may be also in the fauna. Then it's a pioneer for food chain. Definitely, it is a very much good source for wildlife habitat. That n number of wildlife, they are protected, they are conserved in the forest area. Natural water quality management, then recreation, landscape and community protection. That is one of the importance of the forestry. Employment generation, especially in the rural areas where the forest nurseries are there under the different schemes, employment guarantee schemes are there. So forestry, it gives a good source of employment for the rural background. Then biodiversity management, watershed management, and of course erosion control. So these are some of the importance of the forestry on that point of view. Now, Global Forest Resource Assessment, that is by Food and Agriculture Organization. So they have given some of the key findings. That is, forest area has declined all across the world in the past 3 decades. So almost the world lost 170 million hectares of forest since 1990. That is an area the size of the country called as Libya. So at the faster rate, we are declining the forest. The rate of forest loss has also declined due to growth of sustainable management. So the forest loss in 2015 to 20 declined to an estimated of 10 million hectares, down from 12 million hectares in 2010 to 2015. So the area of naturally regenerating forest worldwide decreased since 1990, but the area of planted forest also increased by 123 million hectares. So efforts are also being taken by the different policies for government implementing agencies to go for the plantations also. So this is how the forest for the area of top 10 countries in 2005. India is placed at the 10th position with the 70,682,000 hectares. So that is how the percent global forest area is 2%. This is countries reporting the greatest annual forest area again. So India is at the 8th position. We are having the annual forest area again by just 0.3% of that as compared to the 2010. Then forest carbon stocks in top 10 countries. India is also positioned at the 8th position. Russian Federation is at the 1st, whereas Angola is at the 10th. You can see here. This is about the forest cover map in India 2020. As far as the country is concerned, the 2019 reports total forest cover area is 80.73 million hectares. So top 3 states showing the increase in forest area, Karnataka ranks first, followed by Andhra Pradesh, and then followed by Kerala. Whereas area-wise largest forest cover in the country, MP has that, Arunachal Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, and Maharashtra is also there in the area-wise cover. So this is how the forest cover of India, that is very dense. It's hardly 3.02. Non-forest area, you can see 76.92%. So this is, we can see that non-forest area is almost 77%, very dense forest is 3%, moderately dense forest, that is 9%, then open forest 9%, and scrub is up to 1.41, that is about 2%. Now coming to the availability of jobs, as well as what are the chances of entrepreneurship. So we'll be discussing one by one. So very key most part of the government jobs, that is Indian Forest Service, that is conducted by Union Public Service Commission every year. So it's one of the 3 All India services where it was constituted in the year 1966 under the All India Service Act 1951 by the Government of India. Earlier, the British government in India had constituted the Imperial Forest Service, that is in 1867, which functioned under the federal government until the Government of India Act 1935 was passed and the responsibility was transferred to the provinces. So these British people, they ruled our country, but they find that the forests are very important. Actually, these people, they were not knowing how the forest can be exploited. So they hired people from the Germany, and they got the training how the utilization of the lots and for where it is used. So they were very intellectual on that point. So they administered the Indian forest through Germany. So that is how the British government had. You can see the output of that is one of the building at Forest Research Institute, that is the FRI Deemed University. We have that the building was constructed in the year 1905 by the British people. So a lot of love and the importance was given to the Indian forest by the British people. So that's an example for it. Then administration of the service is the responsibility of the MOEF, that is Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So these are some of the responsibilities of the IFS officer to implement the policies that aim at ensuring environmental stability and ecological balance. In a particular area where generally these people are appointed initially at the district place as a deputy conservator of forest. So to have whatever the policies designed by the MOEF, that has to be implemented at the district level. So he is a controlling officer for the division at that place. So he has to look after to conserve both the plants as well as the animal, that is flora and fauna in a particular given region. He has to conserve it. He has to take the measures to help out the conservation of these parts. Then to protect and develop the forest as well as wildlife, and to enhance the livelihood opportunities of forest dependent communities. So if we are not going to enhance the livelihood opportunities, at least in these fringe areas of the forest, the people will not support whatever the activities done by the government. Unless they get something, they are not ready to help. So that is the year of the practical things. So give and take. So we have to imbibe into the minds of the people that this is their forest and not the forest of the forest people or forest department. So it's a teamwork. Whatever things are there, we have to fight it very collectively, and the days are there that we cannot work alonely. So that is a new concept of joint forest management has also been evolved and it has been the mandatory in the official terms also. Then to ensure the unique species of the plants and animals that can grow, stay and remain in their natural habitat, and to sort out the problems related to the habitation flora and fauna. So these are some of the responsibilities of the IFS officers or our forest officers who are in charge of the particular division, particular range. That is how we have to see. Of course, Indian Forest Service, it's a recruitment through the Union Public Service Commission. Every year they go for the direct recruitment. So till 2013, separate examination process was there. That is what there was a separate mains exam of descriptive type, and the separate advertise was given, and people used to appear separately. But from the 2014, there is a combined preliminary examination, that is as a civil services exam, and that is how the course duration is for 2 years. That foundation course at Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administrations, 3.5 months, 3.5 months. Professional course at IGNAB, Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy, for 16.5 months, and on the job training for 4 months in the respective states, how they have been sent back. Now, normally the notification is the same as the civil services UPSC notification, and this is because of prelims exam, which is the first stage of both the civil services, and the forest service exam is the same. That is civil services and the forest service exam. The preliminary examination is same, but candidates should indicate while applying online whether they are taking the civil services, the IFS, or both the exams. So normally, as the less number of vacancies are there every year for Indian Forest Service exam, so normally 100 per year. So as compared to the civil services, the mains, that is how the merit is higher by almost 20 or something marks for as compared to the other services. Then mains exam for the is different from the civil service. We'll see how it's different. In the eligibility criteria, we can see in the further slides. So IFS exam requires science or engineering bachelor's degree from UPSC recognized universities. So these are some of the subjects, that is animal husbandry, veterinary science, botany, chemistry, geology, mathematics, statistics, physics, zoology. Agriculture is one of the prime subjects for the Indian Forest Service exams, forestry or engineering. So this is how the stage 1, that is prelims. The prelim exam is an objective type exam. There will be 2 compulsory papers, paper 1 and paper 2 for 400 marks. The paper 1 comprises of 100 questions covering general studies, and whereas paper 2 comprises of 80 questions covering general aptitude and comprehension. So maximum time duration for each paper is 2 hours. Then there is negative marking for 1/3 marks for every incorrect answer. For both Indian Forest Service and Civil Service, there is a common entrance test that we have discussed. And the candidates who qualifies mains will be eligible for mains, and a separate detailed application form need to be filled. So this is how the syllabus for the paper 1, that is history, current affairs, geography, art and culture, polity, and science and technology. That is for the paper 1 from the prelims. And as far as the paper 2 is concerned, this logical reasoning, general aptitude, and reading comprehension. That is how paper 2 has been formed. Then comes to the mains exam. So each subject will have 2 papers based on it. The maximum time duration will be 3 hours. So out of paper 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, 2 optional subjects are to be selected from the list given below. And it is conducted only in English. The candidates who qualify for mains will be eligible for intern. So these are the scheme for the paper 1, that is compulsory general English, paper 2 general knowledge. Then there are optional paper 3, 4, 5, and 6, that is optional 1, then optional 2. So these are the out of 1,400 marks. The exam is being conducted. So these are the list of subjects where the candidates will not be allowed the following combinations, that is agriculture and agriculture engineering. Then agriculture forestry, that is not allowed, chemistry and chemical engineering. So that will come, you will understand when you go through the exams, especially the website of UPSC. So these are the subjects where you have to choose the 2 subjects from this list, that is agriculture, and these are some of the subjects. Mathematics is there, forestry is there, zoology, geology, chemistry. So these are some of the subjects where you have to choose the 2 optionals. And when you qualify for the mains, there is stage 3, that is personality test or interview. So this will be for 300 marks. And this is the final stage. The object of the interview is to assess the suitability of the candidates, where you are suitable for it or not. The candidate is expected to have an all-round personality, and candidate should be aware of current affairs, modern current of thoughts, and new discoveries happening around him, both within and outside his own state and the country. So that is how the candidate is analyzed for his overall personality for 300 marks. And then, of course, this is very much important part, that is called as a physical test. So male candidates have to complete a 25-kilometer walk or run in 4 hours, whereas the female candidates have to complete 16-kilometer walk or run in less than 4 hours. That is qualifying. That is unless and until you pass the physical test, you will not be selected. So you have to go for the physical test also. Then coming to the Maharashtra Forest Service examinations, MPSC, Maharashtra Public Service Commission, it goes for the Group A as a Group B post. So preliminary examination is for 100 marks, that is syllabus is Marathi language, English language, and as a general studies also, that is for the prelims. And then mains we have 400 marks, that is there are 2 papers. General studies is for 200 marks, and general science and nature conservation is for 200 marks. And finally the interview is for 50 marks. And for this exam also the qualifying physical test is there, that is male candidates have to complete a 25-kilometer walk or run in under 4 hours, and female candidates have to complete a 16-kilometer walk or run in less than 4 hours. So that is how the exams, whenever the final merit list goes on, so the candidates who are at the top merit list, they are selected as an assistant conservator of forest, and succeeded candidates, they are selected as a range forest officers. Now, to have the quick look of the hierarchy here, normally the people don't understand how the hierarchy of the. So wherever the lowest post, we call it as a beat guard. Beat guard is supervised by the forester, or in some state it's called as a deputy range officer. Foresters, they are controlled by range forest officers. Then range forest officers, they are controlled by assistant conservator of forests. Normally, they are given 3 to 4 range forest officers are controlled by assistant conservator of forest. Then assistant conservator of forest is controlled by deputy conservator of forest. So he is an IFS officer. Then deputy conservator of forest is controlled by conservator of forest. Conservator of forest is again supervised by the chief conservator of forest, that is equivalent to the divisional commissioner of a division. Chief Conservator of Forest, again, it's controlled by additional principal Chief Conservator of Forest. And finally, the additional principal Chief Conservator is controlled by Principal Chief Conservator of Forest, who is also called as a Head of Forest Force. So normally there are 3-4 wings are there. The territorial wing, where all the reserve forest area is being controlled by the territorial people. Wildlife wing, that is protected areas, all the national parks, sanctuaries, and all they are covered by these people. And then comes the social forestry wing, that is the forest activities outside the your forest area, plantations and all, that is why social forestry wing. We have also one research and education wing, where all the training institutes are controlled by the additional principal Chief Conservator of Forest, research, education and training. We have research centers also. We have at different places like Jalna, then Dodamar, then some part of Koinanagar. So some of the research stations are also there. So that is how the state forest services are running. Now these are the some of the chances where we can see that.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, PPT not visible. Next slide.
Okay. No, I actually had the oral discussion only for just to know the hierarchy of the people. This is I will be coming to the next part. That is now it's visible, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So coming back to the second part of the presentation, we can call it as academic institutions, where the different programs are available for the our agriculture people. So Forest Research Institute, it's a deemed university, and they conduct one master program, that is in MSc Forestry as well as MSc in Environment Management. So these are the two master's program. For the MSc Forestry, bachelor's degree in science with at least one of the subjects, namely botany, chemistry, geology, mathematics, physics, zoology, and even the bachelor's degree in agriculture or forestry. So they are qualified for the MSc Forestry degree program. Whereas the MSc Environment Management, that is 3 years bachelor degree in any branch of basic or applied science, bachelor's degree in forestry or agriculture, or bachelor of engineering in environment science. So these are the two emerging postgraduate courses one can opt for as an agriculture student. We can have the two courses. Now, as far as the MSc Forestry is concerned, lot of things which are having the practical values, it's only at the Dehradun. So different faculty, different departments are there. So as like our university, we have different departments are also there, like silviculture, wood utilization, forest protection. So on that basis, we can have the different disciplines where the MSc can be done. Then comes the Indian Institute of Forest Management. That is it's at the Bhopal. So they have the two diploma courses, that is postgraduate diploma in forest management and postgraduate diploma in sustainability management. So for this eligibility, candidates must have a bachelor degree in any discipline, so at least with 50% marks or equivalent CGPA. So these are some of the placements where after the completion of the bachelor's degree, if you pass in this, if you cover this PG diploma, these are some of the firms where we can have the jobs in the different institutes, BioFIS there, Kantar, FinCare. So all these, we can say that's environment related industries. Those are consultants for the environment management. So they can hire these people and they can have the better salaries also as compared to the normal MBA. So this is a Indian Institute of Forest Management. They every year they give the advertise and they have the competitive exam of their own, and we have to qualify it, and afterwards we'll have that the placements over completion the PG diploma. That comes Institute of Forest Genetics and Tree Breeding at Coimbatore. So IFGTB it is called as. It's a nodal center for the Forestry Institute, and it conducts a doctoral program in forestry. So a student can pursue research and studies leading to an award of PhD degree at IFGTB Center, Coimbatore. So excellent research facilities in the field of forestry and allied subjects are available at the institute affiliated under FRI University. So this is a very good institute in southern part of the country where the tree genetics and other related tree breeding programs are normally run by this institute. So one can have the chance of getting the PhD degree from this institute. Of course, this then comes a very prime institute called as a Wildlife Institute of India, Dehradun. Recently, from the year 2019, they have started one course that is called as Master's course in Heritage Conservation and Management. So for this, again, the eligibility is bachelor's degree from a recognized university and minimum 15 years of formal education, either 10+2+3 pattern or 11+2+2. This is given for the because it has only 15 number of seats, and the foreign people, they also joined for these courses. It's a 2 years course. So candidates who are appeared also will be appearing at the qualify exam. They can also apply for this Wildlife Institute course that is called as Master's course in Heritage Conservation and Management. Then there is another institute called as Indian Institute of Remote Sensing, Dehradun. So MSc in Geoinformation Science and Earth Observations. So they are specialized in Geoinformation Science, and eligibility and criteria, the candidates applying for the course should have the following qualifications, that is under UGLOS, either should be MSc, MSc, MTech, Physics, Applied Physics. You can see here the agriculture is also one of the subjects where you can see that they can lead to the MSc in Geoinformation Science. Horticulture people, forestry people also can join to this course. Now, these were the some of the institutes where the we have the as an academic institution one can explore in their qualifications. So in order to have better options, we can go down to the websites of these all institutes where you can have this chance to go for the further education studies. So if you decide to work in the forestry area, definitely there are good chances. Even we can compare it with the forest country having the more area, that is United States of America, where the individual farmer, he or she owns almost 400 to 500 hectares of land of a forest area. So where the post of forest manager, it can be exploited if you go through the MSc or postdoctorate doctorate programs in some of the institutes like we have mentioned earlier. Now, coming back to the that is the part called as a small scale forestry enterprises. So though this is a very neglected part, and we are not much enthusiastic about this these things, that is small scale part, but forest has a good role in the when one has to, if he or she tries for the different condition as an entrepreneurship, we can have these small scale forestry enterprises. So as regards the small this, we have the enterprises, they have the very much important role in the national economy, and the sector produces a wide range of products such as poles, fuel wood, charcoal, sawn timber, furnitures are also there, veneers are there, plywoods are there, block board, fiber board, particle board. So all this, the cottage industry we can call it as. The forest has a very much association with this industry. So we have to think on that part. As an entrepreneur, if someone wants to go, one can start with the better options of some of the industries I have been listing out here. So these are some of the enterprises very with the minimum capital. One can start with the handmade paper, then manufacture of katha, that is from the acacia katachu, then manufacture of some gums and resins, then manufacture of lac, that shellac, then cottage match industry, fireworks, agarbattis, that is incense sticks, that is how one can utilize it, bamboo and cane works, then of course manufacture of paper cups, plates, bags that can be utilized, then register making, exercise bookbinding, so then grass mats, collection, processing, packing of forest products, and of course photo framing. So these are some of the small sectors which can be started with a very minimum capital, or at the wherever the place in the remote areas or the rural areas can along the side of the forest area, we can think of these some of the industries as a cottage industries. So safety matches, we can see there are approximately 12,000 safety match making units in the entire country, and they are having the small and small scale and cottage industries. So out of that, 82% of the production is only in the small scale and cottage sector. So only 18% at the higher or the commercial level. So almost you can see the industry about 250,000 people, and that is how the one can think of the safety matches. Then woodworking, of course, we have traditional industry, that is furnitures, doors, windows, panels, then sports goods, handicrafts. So all these things, that is where the woodworking, and out of this, the truck and bus bodybuilding. So they require much of this wood for the bodybuilding. Agricultural implements at the small level, at the village level, they can be also seen on this woodworking. Sports goods, that is how, especially the states like Punjab, UP, and Jammu Kashmir, they have the half units of the sports goods there. So Jalandhar and Meerut, these are the capital of the sports goods. One can see that the woods like mulberry, maple, rosewood, that can be used as a sports goods. Pencil industry is also there. So according to an estimate made, India produces around 1.5 million gross pencils every year, for which roughly 14,200 metric cube of timber is required. So previously we used the American cedar wood, which was imported, but now it is been replaced by the indigenous species, especially Simel and all. Paper industry is also there. That is how one can use eucalyptus. That is one of the major species. We can have that either in the group or say group of company we can establish on that line. Paperboard production is there. Katha and Kutch, that is where the Acacia catechu, that is the tree where it is used in masala, pan masala confectionery. Wherever the Kutch is also used for dyeing the canvas and tanning leather. So that is how the Katha is one of the very small scale industry we can think of. Lac is produced from secretions of tiny insects. So number of wild and cultivated plants, they are being used. So this is the production trend in lac in India 2000 to 2001. We had almost 9,054.12 tons. So that is how we can see that lac is being also exploited in the country. Of course, this is the one of the field where the bamboo we cannot neglect. That is, separate bamboo boards are now established in each and every state. So bamboo is given very prime important. That has been used for the making of the household articles, table mats, trays, lampshades. Bamboo furniture is also prepared. So not only this, now the new concept wherever the ecotourism activities are there. So under such conditions, cottages are prepared, and that for this bamboo is being used. Whereas as a very cheap material, and very attractive and very comfortable things can be prepared from the bamboo by taking some of the specialized trainings, especially in the northeast countries, parts of our country, we can have that bamboo related products there. This is one of the emerging industry which has been called as essential oils. So that is how the essential oils, we have that perfumery and similar purposes. Either they are derived from the grasses. So wherever the area is very barren or just adjacent to the forest area, we can think of this. The rosemary is there, then your rosha or vetiver. All these can be utilized as one of the very much important and emerging industries. That especially it is used in soaps, cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, then confectionery, as well as aerated water, that is called attar, scented tobacco, then in industries. So all these natural oils, they can be exploited with this. This is one of the new emerging industry where the demand is more, whereas supply is very less. So that is how one can think of going on the essential oil industries, that we can exploit it. Of course, you might have seen during these pandemic conditions that is the industries, especially the herbal medicines, Ayurveda may be there, Siddha, Unani systems. So this supply of base of medicinal plant used from the manufacture of traditional medicines is largely from the wild area or the forest area. So after the identification of these species, one can go for the cultivation as a commercial purpose, and we can think of this wherever we can see that it is estimated that around 80% of medicinal plants are active in trade and are procured from the wild areas. So it is estimated that the total annual turnover is almost 45 billion. And we have seen that another estimate puts the total trade in medicinal plants in India to be the order of 5.5 billion US dollars. So vast scope is there for herbal medicines. The people who are not having the much knowledge of the herbal things, they are involved in this. Whereas it's a very good chance for agriculture graduates to see that whether the particular plant or the any medicinally important plants can be seen, and we have to exploit those plants on the commercial level, being a knowledge of all the sectors which are involved in the agricultural degree, that is either in the form of soil science or in the form of pure plant pathology, plant entomology. So all these combination of the knowledge can be done, together it can be utilized and to go for the commercial production of the herbal medicines. Now there are some of the government also, they are having the policies which are utilized for the boosting of this small scale forestry industries. So while economic reforms initiated in the 1991 have led to the removal of numerous measures, that once the protected Indian industries, some of the measures that protect the small sector still continue. And whereas the small scale industries which are provided certain special treatments, either it may be for the reservation of products, priority sector lending and concessional credit, preferential purchases by central and state government organization, Khadi and Village, that is how one of the board is there. So which looks after the marketing of these products. So people are also fond of getting whatever the good things or whatever in the which is organically prepared. Either it may be some part of the things like traditional articles. So they are after this. So there is no need to go for the more advertisement. Once you know it that this product has been prepared, so people will come after too. So only the commercialization has to be followed. Now coming back to the one of the very great industry where the agriculture graduates can think of this, that is tourism industry is there. So one can say that the beauty of nature lies in its variety, which indeed is endless. So the timeless desire in the human beings to appreciate the nature from the bottom of their heart. That is called as a tourism. So this is why since ancient times, the explorers, they discover the and travel undertook the adventurous journeys in spite of all the difficulties they came across. So the underlying idea of visiting new places to appreciate their beauty in course of time has given birth to the modern industry called as a tourism. So it is the job of tourism industry to spot such places, beauty and interest, and bring the people and places physically closer to one another by providing every facility and comfort. So that is how the tourism is here. And by in Sanskrit, it is called as a paryatan, which leaving one's residence to travel for the sake of rest and for seeking knowledge. So that is how the tourism is being one of the emerging industry. But where we are concerned with the industry called as ecotourism. So it's the world's largest industry and fastest growing economic sector. There are positive and negative impacts on people's lives and environment. So wherever the ecosystem is combined with the tourism, that is called as it gives rise to the ecotourism. So that is how one can be elaborate one of the definition as like this: responsible travel to the natural areas which conserves the environment and improves the welfare of the local people. So that is called as the definition, that is ecotourism. It can be also called as by the International Ecotourism Society. They say that responsible travel to natural areas that conserves the environment, sustains the well-being of local people, and involves the interpretation and education. So that is how one can have the idea of the ecotourism. So ecotourism, it's a conservation with the profits of and involving of the local together. Without local people, it is not possible to have the ecotourism. So unless, as I have mentioned earlier, unless and until the local stakeholders are involved in particular industry, it's not going to have the bloom for the, or it will not be successful. So one cannot neglect the importance of the locals there to have the importance of any particular industry. So ecotourism is based on the involvement of the local people there. So you might be surprised with these figures, that is contribution of the different economic sectors to the employment. We can see that agriculture, it has 44.7, to the par tourism has 47.5%. So it's a global, the Central Strategic Organization, Ministry of Tourism, they have given. So we can see that it has a great potential in the tourism. So by the application of the knowledge gained during the undergraduate and or postgraduate level, the agriculture can be exploited with the tourism. There are concepts called as agro-tourism. So again, if it is combined with the agro ecology, we can it called as agro-ecotourism. So we can develop some of the sites which are called as agro-ecotourism sites. So people will like to come there, because nowadays the people, they are bored of the enjoying the facilities called as 5-star or even 7-star facilities. So they want to live in the nature at the cost, with the minimum damage to the nature. One can go for the having such type of industry that is called as ecotourism industry. So agriculture graduates have much bright future in this type of industries. Then we can see there is a broader term called as agroforestry. So land use management systems in which trees or shrubs are grown around the among crops or pasture land. The diversification of the farming system initiates an agroecological succession that can be used. So the intentional combination of agriculture and forestry has multiple benefits, such as greatly enhanced yields from the staple food crops, enhanced farmer livelihoods from income generation, then increased biodiversity, improved soil structure and health, and reduction in the erosion, as well as carbon sequestration. That is how the agroforestry has a lot of. Now, so many crops are involved, especially in the Maharashtra Forest Department. They have also allowed the sandalwood now to go for this as agroforest species, and different species which are eucalyptus is also there. So all the very much important species which are related with this agroforestry species can be used. This is one of the slide we can see that this is how the role of the agroforestry industries can be considered together. Then comes the forest nurseries. So why I have put this purposefully this topic, because the agriculture graduates, they know much better things about the how to grow nursery. So there are some of the people who are having the limited knowledge, they go for the nurseries, whereas the people who are having the professional knowledge, so if they start a particular nursery, especially for the even in the forestry species, one can have a better enterprises at the things where the forest species are required, because it is not possible for the government agencies to supply as per the demand of the people, especially in the urban areas. The forest species which can have the faster growth or which are having the tall height can be utilized. So there is great demand by the industry people also to have the different things that is they have been gone for the minimizing the pollution levels. So there are 2-3 concepts are coming. So to have the proper planting material in a bulk quantity with the good healthy seedlings, the knowledge of agriculture graduates is definitely is going to help, and it will be making the remarkable difference from the other nurseries which are prepared by the local people there. So the rise of the environmental movement in the late 20th century, the explosion of invasive and non-native plants over the past century had increased, and that has been led to much attention being directed towards the propagation and restoration of native or indigenous plants. So we are now not recommending the exotic plants. We are again coming back to our own the flora, which is indigenous. So they are required for the bulk quantity. We can think of the different like Azadirachta indica may be there, Pongamia pinnata. All these very much indigenous species can be thought over this. Then the tree seeds germinate and trees grow readily under the natural conditions. So these delicate young seedlings and young trees are exposed to adverse dry season conditions and intense competition from other plants in natural forest or plantation. So we can go for the preparation of a healthy plant stock where the forest nurseries can be exploited. So this is one of the example of this forest nursery. You can see the seedling quality, that is the ability of plant to produce new roots quickly. If the speed with which seedlings get anchored in the ground and start assimilating and growing up to planting out. It should have a well-developed root system. The sun-adapted foliage should be there because it will be planted in the area where it will be having exposure to sunlight without restricted amount of water there. A large root at polar diameter, that is one of the character, and high root to shoot ratio. So these are the particular things where any agriculture graduate, if he or she looks into these parameters to go for the production of the colossal plantation required by the various agencies, we can have this the good enterprise as compared to the other things. So forest nursery can be also think over one of the report for the as an enterprise. Then emerging thing now in the global economy, that is called as the carbon credits. So it is nothing but it's a tradable certificate or permit representing to the right to emit 1 ton of carbon dioxide. It's called as the carbon credit, single carbon credit. So key component of national and international trading schemes, so that have been implemented to mitigate global warming. So it's an issue where all the world has been suffering. So that is how so they provide a way to reduce greenhouse effects emission on the industrial scale. Carbon are the substances that reduce their emission of greenhouse gases, which cause the global warming. So this is how this only put for because for the knowledge of this carbon sequestration and all, agriculture graduate can immediately acquire this, and he or she can develop a firm called as a carbon credit taxation firm. So this is how the carbon credit certificate is there. For example, if a project generates energy using wind power instead of burning coal, it can save 50 tons of carbon dioxide per year. So there it can claim 50 SIRs. That is, SIR is equal to 1 ton of carbon dioxide reduced. That is called as SIRs. So it's a global issue. So for that reason, it's an emerging field. We can have that number of plants are there. We can see that how the plants can be utilized as a commercial importance for sequestration of the carbon. So carbon credits, buying carbon credits can reduce emissions. So that is how the adoption of measures that reduce the emission of greenhouse gases. That is use of renewable energy, reduction in the energy consumption. That is one of the reduction. Whereas companies and governments can take measures that compensate for processes that produce greenhouse gases. That is planting of trees, companies for donating carbon credits, etc. can be done. So here the role of agriculture graduate can come, that whatever I think that it is as compared to other disciplines. So agriculture has the prime potential to utilize this carbon credit concepts. So as per the Kyoto Protocol, it has been seen that Indian projects are estimated to receive almost 246 million sales by December 2012. We have seen. So it's not only that these are some of the companies which are having the carbon credit traders. That is Grasim is there, Reliance is there, Tata Motors, Tata Steels. So Madhya Pradesh Rural Livelihood Projects, Tata Power Company. So these are all the some of the emerging industries where the carbon credit traders can be gone throughout the country. So that is how we'll be now coming to the conclusion part. Whatever we can see that, and then we have the question answers in detail for this. So as far as the my experience and all, we can conclude this topic. That is, forestry sectors has a wide potential for young dynamic officers throughout the country, as in the form of government agencies, then as academicians also, then at the different institutes in the forestry research institutes, as a researchers also, and of course one cannot neglect the entrepreneurship also. So that is how the it has a very much great role. The agriculture graduates can be having the great opportunities in the forestry sector. That's what I can think to on this concluding part. So very thank you for all listening it very patiently and giving me a chance to interact with you. With this, I can hand over the session to Dr. B.M. Bhalerao, and we can have the question answers now as far as the presentation is concerned.
Thank you, sir. And participants are requested to ask questions through chat box.
Books.
Sir, one question, sir. Sir, please tell us about your academy. Some participant
Actually,
asking.
sir, instead of telling, can I, with your kind permission, I have 5 minutes video of my academy. Can I play it? If you
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, okay, sir.
Desktop. Here.
कुंडल अकॅडमी.
Share screen option.
कुंडल अकॅडमी पश्चिम महाराष्ट्रातील एकमेव वनक्षेत्रपाल प्रशिक्षण केंद्र. इथल्या मनमोहक परिसरामध्ये साकारलेलं सर्वांग सुंदर संकुल. निसर्गानं सौंदर्याचं अनमोल दान या अकॅडमी लगतच्या परिसरामध्ये ओतलंय. प्रावीण्यासाठी प्रशिक्षण हा मानस्तंभ या प्रशिक्षणार्थींच्या मनात भावी आयुष्याविषयी प्रेरणा आणि आस्था जागृत करतो आहे. चाकोरी बाहेरची एक वेगळी वाट यांनी निवडली. ती वाट चालण्यासाठी उमेदीचं बळ या प्रशिक्षण केंद्रातूनच प्रत्येकाच्या मनात भरलं जाते. सूर्योदय होतो आणि पूर्वेच्या क्षितिजावरून येणाऱ्या चैतन्य लाटा या प्रशिक्षणार्थींना जागवतात. इथल्या प्रशस्त प्रांगणात वॉर्मिंग अप सुरू होतं. कवायतींना रंग भरतो. त्यानंतर सगळे प्रशिक्षणार्थी फ्रेश होऊन नाश्ता घेतात. सकाळी 9 नंतर इथे लेक्चर सुरू होतात. यात वानिकी विषयांसोबतच व्यक्तिमत्व विकास, व्यवस्थापन कौशल्य अशा विषयांवरही विशेष भर दिला जातो. देशातील विविध भागातील तज्ञांचं मार्गदर्शन या अकॅडमीला आजवर लाभलेलं आहे. सकाळी 9 ते दुपारी 1:30 असं पहिलं प्रशिक्षण सत्र. यानंतर 1 तास भोजन समय आणि पुढे 2:30 ते 4:30 दुसरं सत्र. अशी ज्ञानसाधना इथे रोज चालते. संध्याकाळी 4:30 ते 5 रिफ्रेशमेंट. त्यानंतर 5 ते 7 सांघिक खेळ. रात्री 8 ते 9 भोजन आणि मग त्यानंतर रोल कॉल होऊन इथला दिनक्रम पूर्ण होतो.
आता इथं वानिकी शाळा उभारण्याचा विचार पहिल्यांदा रुजला. पहिल्यांदा असं म्हणण्याचे कारण हे की यापूर्वी या मातीत काहीच रुजलं नव्हतं. इथे होता तो फक्त एक ओसाड प्रदेश. त्याचे काही फोटोग्राफ्स आपल्याकडे आहेत, ते आता आपण बघूया.
अशा प्रकारची संस्था उभारण्यामागे उद्देश काय? सुरुवातीला वानिकी प्रशिक्षण संस्था म्हणजे केवळ शाळा असं स्वरूप होतं. पण राज्यातील वनक्षेत्रपाल प्रशिक्षण संस्थांचा अभाव लक्षात घेता वनक्षेत्रपाल, वन अधिकारी आणि वन कर्मचारी यांच्या प्रशिक्षणाच्या सोयीच्या दृष्टीनं या शाळेचा दर्जा उंचावून तिला अकॅडमीचे स्वरूप देण्यात आलं. 2013 मध्ये सुरू झालेली ही संस्था 7 फेब्रुवारी 2014 रोजी अकॅडमी मध्ये रूपांतरित झाली. देशातील ही अशी 5वी अकॅडमी आहे. आज इथे 43 कर्मचारी आणि अधिकारी कार्यरत आहेत. यामध्ये 15 प्रशिक्षण अधिकारी आहेत. सुमारे 11 हेक्टर क्षेत्राच्या अशा या निसर्गरम्य परिसरात या भव्य अशा 7 सुसज्ज इमारती उभ्या आहेत. मुख्य प्रशासकीय इमारत प्रशिक्षणासाठी विविध आसन क्षमतेच्या 10 वर्गखोल्या, 68 व्यक्ती क्षमतेच्या पुरुष वसतिगृहाच्या 34 खोल्या, 58 व्यक्ती क्षमतेचं महिला वसतिगृह, याचबरोबर अधिकाऱ्यांसाठी 60 व्यक्ती क्षमतेचं वातानुकूलित उच्च श्रेणी वसतिगृह, 8 कक्षांचे विश्रामगृह, भोजनालय, व्यायामशाळा असे विविध विभाग इथे आहेत. साधारण 1250 पुस्तकं आणि 144 फिल्म्सनी परिपूर्ण असं भव्य ग्रंथालय आणि रीडिंग रूम, 40 आणि 48 कॉम्प्युटर्स असलेल्या 2 अत्याधुनिक लॅब, 144 आसन क्षमतेचं सभागृह, व्हिडिओ कॉन्फरन्स रूम, ई लर्निंग क्लासेस, सिंडिकेट रूम्स अशी पायाभूत सुविधांची परिपूर्णता इथे आहे. इतर सांस्कृतिक कार्यक्रम किंवा ग्रुप डिस्कशन असे अनेक उपक्रम इथे राबवले जातात. नियमित प्रशिक्षणासोबत इथे व्यवस्थापन प्रशिक्षण सुद्धा दिलं जातं. या व्यतिरिक्त स्वतंत्र ट्रान्सफॉर्मर रूम, शॉपिंग कॉम्प्लेक्स, स्वतंत्र पाणी पुरवठा योजना यांचीही इथे उपलब्धता आहे.
सांगली, सातारा आणि कोल्हापूरच्या सीमेवर हा परिसर येतो. सह्याद्री व्याघ्र प्रकल्प आणि जागतिक वारसा लाभलेले कास पठार इथून अगदी जवळ आहे आणि सागरेश्वर अभयारण्य तर अगदी हाकेच्या अंतरावर आहे असं म्हणायलाही हरकत नाही.
या आणि अशा वैशिष्ट्यांसोबतच इथे अभ्यासक्रमातही उच्चतम तांत्रिकतेची मूल्य जपली आहे.
हॅलो. हॅलो. हॅलो.
I can make according to the time.
Sir, not audible, sir. Hello.
त्यांच्या अभ्यास विषयाला मदत करेल यात काही शंका नाही.
आपल्याला जागा लागेल सह्याद्री वनस्पती उद्यानामध्ये.
सह्याद्री म्हणजे महाराष्ट्राची ओळख. त्या सह्याद्री पर्वतरांगातील दुर्मिळ वनस्पतीची जैवविविधता संवर्धन करण्यासाठी इथे उभारलं आहे हे सह्याद्री वनस्पती जैविक उद्यान. इथल्या प्रशिक्षणार्थींना हे हिरवं स्वप्न नक्कीच भुरळ पाडेल. त्यांच्या अभ्यास विषयाला मदत करेल यात काही शंका नाही.
Sir, some questions in chat box.
Yes, I have been seeing that, sir, in UPSC IF exam, we cannot adopt agriculture and forestry combination. So, optional. So, kindly tell me which optional is better with agriculture. So, botany can be, even zoology can be selected, and a combination of it depends on the individual liking. Also, please go to the syllabus, which can be studied together. So, we can have that combination on the basis of geology is also one of the subject which can be taken with the agriculture. Yes. Thank you, Shuruchi, for your response? Yes. Yes, I can share the PPT with you. I can share it with your organizing secretary, Dr. B.M. Bhalera. I can send him on the mail, and the presentation can be shared with you. Yes, any other questions? I think Priyanka Shilsagar, is there any other opportunity in forest sector other than MPSC forestry and I? Definitely, we have discussed a lot about the, as a entrepreneur, we can have a lot of opportunities, but as an academician also, you can think of some of the institutes where I have been, IFM is there, even we can visit some FRI, or you can undergo some of the short-term courses. So there are n number of opportunities which we can exploit on the other than the MPSC as well as IFS. So I think one question is, what is Bhima Bamboo? That is the private company. They have named it as a kind gigantic bamboo. So Bhima, it's not a Bhima, it's a Bhima, BEEMA. So it's a clone from the Tamil Nadu private company, and they are utilizing it on the commercial exploitation of the farmers. We are not recommending it, Bhima Bamboo. There is another question from Ashutosh Belekar. Whether MPSC selected candidates are admitted to your academy or aspirants can also take admission.
Hello. Some sir internet
Yes, sir.
connectivity problems.
Yes. After the particular state public service commission examination selects the number of trainees, so that list is recommended to the Directorate Forest Education. And what normally is done, they mix the requisition of the states. Example, they don't give the particular batch to the state where the academy is associated. Exceptions are there. There were the, I have that batch of 2016-17. So we have received the whole batch from the Maharashtra itself. But currently we are having the batches from the outside the state. Normally there is a ethically conditions is there that the mixture of trainees are sent to particular academy where they don't belong to that. So we are running under now presently undergoing Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Assam, Manipur, Madhya Pradesh. So these trainees, after selection from their public service commission, they have been allotted here for 18 months. So it's not an issue of taking admission here. So it is rather the government-run academy under the state government of Forest Department, Maharashtra, at the jurisdiction of by the son. There are two courses, that is induction course for range forest officers after selection from the public service commission. There is any height criteria, definitely it is there, 165 centimeter, that is the height criteria is there for the, I think I have to check for a female, I think it's 154 or 155. So that is minimum physical standards are there.
Bhalerao sir, hello.
Yes.
Hello, Bhalerao sir. Hello. Please unmute yourself, sir. Unmute yourself, sir.
Our respected Dean sir. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Our respected Dean sir joined our meeting. Please, sir.
Okay, good morning to everyone. In fact, I'm very happy that I have seen the Shailendra. He's delivering the lecture and giving the opportunity in the field of forestry.
Thank you so much, sir, for your
He's
kind
our
of.
alumni. We are very proud of him. And he also served our university for some time. And just I was taking a particularly review of each department and came to know this kind of opportunity for the students for different jobs. And I'm very happy that our alumni, as well as he also worked as assistant professor in our university. And now he's serving the forestry. Of course, our university do not have the forestry department, or you can say the even forestry college at this moment. But I think there is a good relation, or you can say the correlation of our agriculture activity and forestry. So agroforestry, I think that is the main theme where we are introducing these kind of things, but there is no lot of research on this issue. I hope the Shailendra ji will give some new thought on this issue and what are the opportunity in the forestry. And I think many our students, they are enrolling in the forest department service as a IFS, as well as the forest conservator, assistant forest conservator, or RFO, like that kind of things. And some students are also in our academic council member as well as EC member also, they are there. Thank you, Shailendra ji, for giving your very good inputs. And I hope my students will be inspired and they will search this kind of job opportunity in the field of forestry. And you give some guideline to them how to prepare for this kind of examination. And I think for researchable issues, agroforestry research, still it has to be revamped and again has to give the good vision on this approach, because data is very limited. And agroforestry is the another avenue where you can sequester a lot of carbon in the soil, and that will affect the soil health in the future. So agroforestry, we are looking in a different angle, not in economical sense, but also to conserve the natural resources and to manage the natural resources in due course of time. So Shailendra ji, how you feel, and how long you are there in the forestry now?
Yes, sir. I have actually, sir, rather I should thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak with all the alumni members and agriculture graduates, sir. I feel very homely for giving this lecture. And thing is that, sir, under your able guidance only, it was possible for me to join the forest department. So since from 2009, I am there in the department. I have been taken one promotion as a divisional forest officer. And whatever, sir, you have almost focused right now, that is agroforestry is the key point for the agriculture graduates, where it can be exploited on a commercial scale. Either we can think of eucalyptus also as a byproduct for the paper mills, and other things are also to be, sir, we can exploit it. A lot of research activities are to be taken under this condition, sir. Definitely, sir, there are a lot of agriculture people who are joining to the department. It's a pride moment for us. That is, young officers are joining, especially in the field of agriculture, and will be always there to help them out. Whatever the difficulties and other things are there, so they can rightly point. I have given my number to them, so it will be very interesting to answer them and to help them. So once again, sir, I thank you for coming over here and allowing me to interact with all on this line, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Now I request to Dr. B.M. Bhalerao, sir, to propose vote of thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sevak. Sir, very nice and wonderful lecture you delivered, sir. So first of all, I very much thankful to accepted our invitation and given your valuable time for us, sir. You mentioned in your lecture, sir, the basic forestry, then availability of the government job in the forestry, then academic institutions in India, then entrepreneurship. Then you mentioned the objective of the forestry, the various branches of the forestry, then importance of forestry, and global forest resources assessment. You given the data of that, and then forest area of the top 10 countries you mentioned. Then again, you also mentioned the in India, which state having large forest. Then you given detailed information pertaining the Indian Forest Services and uh, how to prepare for that. What is the requirement? What is the eligibility criteria for that? You all the detailed information given the students, sir. It will be helpful and very much innovative, sir, because many of the students having no idea about that, how to prepare and which type of the opportunity in the forestry. But you mentioned or you given lot of information about that, sir. Then various institutes in India, they provided the PG diploma in the forest management, the PG diploma in the sustainability management, and what is the eligibility for that. So you given lot of information pertaining that. Then how to start the small scale forestry enterprises enterprises in India. You provided all the detailed information. So very nice information, sir. It will be helpful for the all students, those who are interested in that area particular. And after completion of your lecture, many of the students will be contact you, sir. And please, I hope you will provide all this detailed information pertaining that. So thank you very much, sir. And I very much thankful to our respected Dr. P.N. Rasad, sir, Associate Dean, Postgraduate Institute, Mahatma Phule Krishi Vidyapith, Rahuri. I sincerely thankful to our Associate Dean, Dr. M.C. Haire, sir, Punyashlok Ahilyadevi Holkar College, Halgaon. I very much thankful to Dr. B.B. Dhakre, sir, co-convener of this training program. I very much thankful to our co-organizing secretaries, Dr. Vijay Patil, sir, student welfare officer, then MR Patil, sir, nodal officer. Then I very much thankful to coordinators, Dr. Dhenge and the Shubhangi man for the nice coordination. And with the permission of the chairman, sir, so we conclude this today's session, sir. So thank you very much, sir, again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Balero, sir, for giving me a chance and opportunity to interact with you all. I'll be sharing my presentation to you on my mail, and that can be utilized for the aspirants. This thing. So once again, I'm very much thankful on behalf of my Kundal Forest Academy, and as special thanks to you also for giving me a chance. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Now I request to Dr. Subhangi Gadge madam for further announcement.
Thank you, Seva. Our next session will start tomorrow at 10:30, and tomorrow's speaker is Dr. N.J. Thakur, former Dean Faculty of Agriculture Engineering from BSKKV Dapoli. And topic of that session is career opportunity in agro processing. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Zada, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your invitation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Good day, sir.
Good.